I guess at the end of it all, I really never had a choice, did I, in talking about avoiding talking about this or not. But I am glad I waited a few days because now I can talk about it with some more accurate information. But honestly, I was gonna leave it alone. I was gonna walk away from it, leave it alone, and not address it. Roll intro. Fuck. Yo, what's up, guys? The Insane Game Freak here to bring you what I would like to say is a societal discussion, which I have one, and I plan to record that probably either tonight or tomorrow, but it probably won't be up until next week. But unfortunately, what we had to address is Fire Emblem Fate stuff, and as much as I told myself, it's like, nah, I'm gonna just let it go and wait until the game comes out. But it can happen now. There's been too much. I've seen too much shit. I've read too much shit, and I've been annoyed by a few things that have just ripped me out of my fucking skull. So let's address what the situation is. And so recently, it was announced, and I'm specifically going to say Kotaku because that's where the source comes from. They had this big Nintendo RPG event. You've seen a whole bunch of videos for Fates, Project X Zone 2. Final Fantasy Explorers, Bravely Second, all these games that have been mentioned have been shown off in these last few days because we got a whole bunch of new footage and changes and shit. Well, Fates has probably had the most controversial issue, probably next to Final Fantasy Explorers, which seems to be turning out to be like a mediocre game, according to reviews anyway. But Fates is having a rough time because you had the first issue with the whole drugging and gay conversion stuff from before, and now you have this situation, which is the Skinship minigame. For those who don't know, Fire Emblem Fates has a feature where in the My Castle option, you can take units back to your room and you can pet them in a petting minigame that is used to build affinity, which opens up more support conversations, which allows you to gain affinity for characters. Now, apparently, according to Kotaku, when they asked the Nintendo rep about this, they said that this feature was entirely cut. Now, the reason why I'm specifically saying Kotaku is because there's the first problem. Because today it was actually revealed that Kotaku was running around saying that the gay relationships were going to be removed from the European version of Fire Emblem Fates. And DualShockers made an article going, no, that's wrong. They're lying to you. So that's already a strike against Kotaku in Fire Emblem Fates news purely for that reason. Now, that doesn't say that they're not right, and for the purpose of the videos, I'm going to address the situation as if they are right. But I want that to be stated that Kotaku has been proven, at least by today, that they are not the most trustworthy when it comes to news, and specifically Fire Emblem Fates news. But, for the purpose of this video, we're going to address it as if it's true. And I'm going to mention a few other things that I've noticed from people's responses. It's a pretty split response, and it's a pretty, pretty much we're hearing censorship screaming. There's a lot of screaming about censorship. And if you think it's censorship now, it's not really my argument. But I need to state this. Because people are like, Nintendo has got to stop doing this. They got to stop censoring their games. And you got some people who are boycotting the game. And I just want people to know, for those crying out censorship, and I don't know if people know this, but almost every Fire Emblem game in America has been censored. I would argue almost all of them have. I know the majority of them have been in certain aspects. But I don't know if all of them have, but I know almost every game has been censored. Awakening was censored. Like, the one thing that drove me up the wall is that people want to complain about Fates, but the only thing about Awakening that people bitched about was the Tharja thing and the DLC map, which most people are expecting them to do that for Camilla's picture in Fates because they did it for Tharja. I don't know how they're going to get away with doing it in Fates because of the way she's positioned in the photo. But hell, fucking, they get creative when they want to block cleavage. I don't fucking know. I'm also going to bring up a few factors against it being there, so let me address that first. There's a possibility, as I said, there's a possibility that Kotaku does not have the right information, and then what helped me come to this conclusion even further is that the North American Fire Emblem Fates site opened up last night, and people, and I think Nintendo Everything took like a giant clip show of all the video clips you could find on the site, and some screenshots. Well, interestingly enough, in the screenshots, you can actually see the My Castle feature where the whole My Room and the face touching. Now, granted, we never see the face touching area for me to confirm, for it to be like a true confirmation whether it's there or not there. But there is something else we see. We see the hot spring function is still there. And in one of the videos shows that you can still dress up your characters. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because initially, I knew face was going to be censored. I knew that. I knew that from point blank. I wasn't shocked that face was censored. I was shocked that it was the face touching that was taken out instead of what I'm about to get into. The fact that you can still dress up your characters and still put stuff on them, and the hot spring area is still available in the English version of the game, brings up a very interesting situation. For those who don't know, one of the main things about Fates that was really talked about when the Japanese version was out was that the whole changing your character's outfit. And the reason why this was a big deal, because you found out the lowest you can strip those characters is in their bra and underwear. Now, granted, that still might be changed, but I have a feeling that it's not. It probably is changed to an extent. That's what I thought would be changed, is that. But also the fact that the hot spring thing is still in there. Now, I don't really need to explain why I find this surprising. If they have such a huge issue with sexual innuendos, well, if I recall right, the hot spring, and from the clips I have seen of it, the hot spring is literally a place where you can go in as your character of choice and interact with other characters in the hot spring in their fucking bikinis and swimwear and shit. Well, that's what makes me think that if that feature's still in the game, because I can't think, there's no way you can censor that and it makes sense. You can't put clothes on them because they look ridiculous with clothes on in a hot spring. So that feature's still there, which makes me think that maybe the whole censoring feature, maybe the whole stripping all the way down to your underwear feature is still in that part in the dress up option. And to me, I'm like, well, I figured those things would also be taken out because, or at least changed because they could be considered just as offensive. Now, the petting in question really isn't that offensive because literally all it is, you can only pet their head. You can't do anything else. You can only pet their heads. So I find it interesting that the American screenshots show and confirm that those options are still in the game, but they took out the head touching, which conflicts with my sensibilities on top of the fact that Kotaku's already been proven to be lying about some shit about Fire Emblem Fates. That's another thing against them, so people don't fucking automatically assume this is true. But let's say it is true. Let's say that this feature is taken out of the game. The other reason why I think this isn't taken out of the game is because this inherently hurts a gameplay mechanic. See, a lot of people, as us Americans, most of us don't know really the whole story for this feature. But as Japanese players have explained to me, and from what I've seen in comments, this feature is almost borderline necessary in Conquest because unlike Birthright, where you can go back and refight battles and, raise affinity with your characters that way, Conquest is literally a battle-to-battle situation. There is no in-between. There is no way for you to grind in Conquest. So the way you would build affinity for characters is literally using this fucking system, which also makes me think, well, Nintendo's never taken out a system that inherently hurts the gameplay, especially because this is a casual way of fixing the affinity without having them fight in battle. Like, this is like the casual's way of building affinity towards characters. And Nintendo has obviously openly admitted in the past that, like, you know what, we have no fucking we will put a whole bunch of, helpful. That's why through Nintendo 3DS games always tell you to take a break if you've been playing for an extended amount of hours. They cater to the casual shit, so the dating sim thing being taken out, considering it's the casual way of building affinity, and also is very helpful for Conquest, seems a little much to me unless there's something that they're going to do to offset that. So that's the other thing that has me suspicious. But now let's get into it as if that is true. Let's pretend like that it is true and they did take it out of the game. And people are fucking mad because it's the censorship argument. Once again, these people also need to realize that if you are so against censorship, Awakening was heavily censored too. You know, the conversation about Naui and Tharja comparing breast sizes and shit, changing a lot of the dialogue for some of the support conversations. Sumia and Crom's being the biggest fucking example. And oh yeah, you can fucking marry your cousin. Lucina and Owen can get married in Awakening. Although I think they changed the dialogue in the English version for it to imply something different. But the point is, you could S-rank, Owen could S-rank his cousin. Because no matter who the father or mother is for Lucina and Owen respectively, they are still cousins. So the fact that they can get married is already an issue in itself, and a few other changes I was looking up just to see and compare and contrast. And obviously the Tharja situation with the DLC. You know, Awakening was just as censored in certain aspects as Fates is supposedly censored. And you know, obviously people have been bitching about the name changes, which is just, it's fucking name changes, really? Like, come on now. Like, if that's the case, we need to just, because, and this gets into the whole point. I would prefer it to be in the game. Not necessarily because I fucking need the feature or because I'm a fucking a weeaboo. Oh my lord. Bruh, I hate how that's an argument. It's like, oh, well, you guys are mad because you're fucking weeaboos. Shut the fuck up. That is like the dumbest shit I've ever seen in my life. Like, I hate that. This shit was annoying. It's like, look, I like anime and I like video games. Just because I want a feature that happens to be a dating sim feature, that doesn't mean anything. And actually, people with that mindset prove part of the reason why the shit may have been taken out in the first place. American sensibilities versus Japanese sensibilities. Dating sims are relatively popular in Japan. They're not like popular nearly at all in fucking America. Most people assert dating sims with that weird weeaboo shit. That's exactly what people asserted with, which are the people who mocked, who said who made fun of that shit. Prove my point. The reason why it was taken out of the game probably is because of that mindset still exists in America. Anime still has a weird negative-ish connotation in America, and although I don't think that's an excuse, and that should be, and Nintendo should use that as a justification, that's part of the reasoning why it's still an issue. You know, have you noticed when you know, they've been relatively pushing the whole fact that you can still do the homosexual relationship in Fates. So they don't have a problem with issues that aren't a problem in America. But guess what's still a problem in America? Like sexuality and anime and shit. That's still an issue. And it was the same thing I was getting mad at before with the whole Notice Me Senpai bullshit. It's the same fucking problems. Because the shit never went away. You know, it's that sensibility, that is that type of mindset that makes the company. Because I really feel like if that wasn't a big deal in the States, or if that wasn't still frowned upon in the States, they would have kept it in the game. They cater it to the country they're going for. And people make the argument and go, well, you're just, you end up pissing off gamers and making them want to boycott your game. Although Awakening still sold well, so what's your excuse for that? That game was censored. All the Japanese players and all the Fire Emblem fans knew it was censored. So, apparently that doesn't mean shit. Because if they can get the casual audience, that's all they give a fuck about. Which is really what this dating sim shit is appealing to. Dating sims, when you add in other elements of different game genres, you can appeal to more people as long as the core focus is still the same. Why do you think there's two versions of the game? Birthright is for the Awakening crowd. Conquest is for the hardcore Fire Emblem fans crowd. Everything has a purpose behind it. Once again, I'm not defending them doing it, but I can understand why they're doing it. I don't think they should have done it, and I think we need to move past that. But it's still, I understand why it was done. Is that same closed-minded, everybody, anime is all perversion and weird and shit, and that's what you get. This is what happens. It's that mentality is the core of the problem. You want to sit here and say it's Nintendo trying to be the parent again. Yes, that is true. But if the shit wasn't deemed so awkward and weird and suggestive in the first place, why would the parent need to fucking hide it from their child? Like, the core of the problem is still the people. It was the same argument I made in the censorship video. People want to bitch about things like this, but then they don't ever bitch about the guys in Japan who lose their violence in video games, or lose the ability to decapitate characters in Last of Us in Japan, or lose goddamn death scenes in Until Dawn in Japan. No one wants to bitch about that, but as soon as you take out my America gets the least amount of censorship when it comes to games. We're the most, ironically enough, we're the most open-minded when it comes to video games, and in terms of representation of censorship, we get the least amount of it, and yet when we do get it, we overly forgot about it. We got niggas in other countries who don't even get some of the most basic fucking features. Like, as I said, the decapitations and Last of Us. You couldn't even kill people in fucking No More Heroes on the Wii. On the Wii, where they show blood in the American version, you couldn't show blood in What the fuck? It's the same thing. So once again, I'm not defending Nintendo doing it, but I understand where the mentality comes from, and especially seeing people's reactions to this really just further vindicates their decision. It's although I still am questioning the validity in it, because of obviously, the Kotaku shit that seems kind of far-fetched, the proof on the North American site that certain modes are in the game, and just the implication of everything combined together. I'm very skeptical that it's taken out of the game, especially considering how important it is to the Conquest version of Fire Emblem Fates. That's just me, though. Which is why I'm waiting to really hold out full-on rage and judgment before that. I just don't like these fucking hypocrites talking about how they hate censorship and shit, but you own a brand new copy of Awakening. If you own I think it's Awakening, both of Ike's games, if you own most of the Fire Emblem representation in the States, and then ironically enough, you got other Fire Emblem fans that are just dude, you're bitching about them taking out a mini game and not bitching about the fact that we don't Fire Emblem still has a really disjointed release in America. We're missing over half the fucking franchise in the States, and people are bitching about a goddamn petting mini game. It's there are other issues. If you want to take the censorship argument, apply it to every fucking thing. That's not what people did. Street Fighter V took out censoring in it, and guess what? People just kind of forgot about it. They just kind of fucking forgot about it. And it's the same thing with this. And by the time the game comes out, no one's gonna give a fuck. No one's gonna give a fuck. And that's really what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for the game to come out for me to prove that. And it's not gonna take away from my experience with the game, because the reason why all the things I fell in love with Awakening for is still in Fates, plus more. So I'm still getting the game. The game is still pre-ordered. The game is still hype as fuck. I'm still going to get this motherfucking game. Because I got people in other countries who have to do a worse shit. What the fuck do I look like bitching? What the fuck do I look like boycotting a game that's missing a fucking petting feature due to the ignorance of the people in the country that the issue becomes an issue in the first place? It's fucking... But Nintendo, at the core of it all, you let it go. Fuck you. But Nintendo, at the core of it all, you do need to let this shit go. It's not a big fucking deal. But once again, I understand they're appealing to the general audience, and the general audience thinks this shit is weird. Hell, hence the half of the backlash. Some of the weird. Why do you think people are mocking the fans about the censorship of it all? The same thing. They got the same shit for Xenoblade. They got the same shit for Fatal Frame. And if anything, if Nintendo, if you're going to do this in the future, give me a Fatal Frame situation. Replace it with something just as good. Do not cheat me, unless that was your justification for giving me free DLC for Xenoblade. Oh, you can't make your characters have giant breasts. And once again, I understood that one too, but it really didn't serve any purpose considering, well, I don't know, because you could still have your character, you can still have almost every other girl in the game besides Lynn rock the underwear, the fucking diving bikini and underwear. So I was I get it, it's because they're underage, but it's not once again, it's are you just taking away sexy shit? Which obviously isn't, because people thought Camilla was going to be censored in some way. And she still is creepy and is sexual in the English version as she is in the Japanese, so it's not that fucking problem. And I'm mad on all sides, to be honest with you. I'm mad at Nintendo for making this an issue in the first place. I'm mad at the fucking people who want to throw out the weeaboo card because that mentality is the reason why this shit was probably censored in the first place. If it's censored, I'm mad that people are jumping to conclusions so fucking quickly based off of a Kotaku of all people. No other fucking source. There is no other English source other than Kotaku, which is also, as I've already said, has been proven to lie or at least have incorrect information, and people went off the fucking deep end. And I'm fucking mad, and I'm mad that people want to bitch about boycotting this game because they don't support censorship, and you own Awakening! I don't even have to mention any other Fire Emblem game. If you bought Awakening new and you're mad about the censorship, you need to understand this. Fire Emblem has always been censored in the States and probably will continue to be censored in the States. Fucking, I didn't even want to talk about it. I was going to let it go. I was like, you know what? I'm going to move on. I'm going to just wait until the game comes out because people are overreacting. Nope. Can't fucking do it. Couldn't fucking do it. Life did not want to cut me a break. They said, fuck you. You're talking about it because niggas have gotten ridiculous with it. I'm probably the maddest at the dudes screaming weeaboo. Oh, you're weeaboos. Fuck you. Like, literally, that's my response to that. Fuck you. Because that's that mentality. It's the Japanese sensibility versus American sensibilities. In fucking America, that shit is deemed as weird, perverted, and disturbed. And you know, the funny thing is that I'm curious to see if people get mad that they took out the incest relationships too. I'm curious. I'm dead serious. Because I'm pretty sure half the people who are mad at the petting minigame, I wonder if they would still be mad if it was the incest implication. Because if they aren't, then I'm curious to see how conflicting it is. I don't think censorship is good, but I feel like you need to address the core of the problem. And the core of the problem isn't Nintendo. The core of the problem is people. You need to fix the mentality. It's the reason why anime fans have such a rough time in the States. Because everyone wants to fucking throw everything under the bus of, all it is fucking Japanese schoolgirls and giant breasts, unrealistically large breasts with unrealistically large heads and misproportioned bodies. You got those type of motherfuckers running around spraying all this fucking anime propaganda shit. And then you wonder why Nintendo's super conservative about anime-looking games. Have you noticed every game that they fuck with are anime-looking games? Fatal Frame, Xenoblade, Fire Emblem Fates, all anime-looking games. Because anime, as much as it's progressed in years, still suffers that same fucking bullshit. And so when I heard the weeaboo comment, that I'll be honest with you, out of everything else, that makes me mad. If you're mad at it for being taken out, cool. If you're mad at people for overly freaking out because they took it out, cool. But when you fucking Shokyo, oh my god, when this nigga said because they were weeaboos. That's a fuck you moment right there. That's a moment where I sat down and I stopped the video and I said, fuck you. Because that was ridiculous. It's such a closed-minded view. And it's the core of the problem. You don't fucking say that. That mentality is why Nintendo censored it, if it's actually censored. I'm gonna stop, because this devolved into a rant. And I'm looking forward to this game. I want this game so bad now. I fucking want to play it. Petting game or no, I still want to play it. But if y'all gonna start talking about the censorship shit, y'all need to call it out every time. Y'all don't need to do what y'all did with these other games and help the other countries out. Don't fucking just focus on American games. Focus on other motherfuckers. That's what we do, though. We'll bitch about it. It's gonna be like it's not even really a hot button issue now. But bruh. Life's a gameplay to win. I'll have a normal video later. I think I'm going to the gym to blow off some steam. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.